Tonight's bold accusation, Jody wants to live. Tonight in Arizona, Jodi Arias, convicted murderer, recently locked up in the psych ward on a suicide watch. Is she a threat to herself? Does she really want to be put to death? She's been found guilty of first-degree murder, but the biggest drama still ahead. Will she be sentenced to life or death? Ryan Smith is with our studio jury here at HLN headquarters in Atlanta. What do they think about Jodi's shocking post-trial statements and her trip to the psych ward? HLN legal correspondent and attorney Beth Karras was in the courtroom for the whole trial and is live tonight in Phoenix. We've also lined up our experts tonight in studio. From Atlanta, criminal defense attorneys Holly Hughes and Meg Strickler. And we know Jodi's voice has been saying she wants to die. But what is her body saying? Body language expert Susan Constantine is here tonight from the HLNTV.com evidence room. And also in Arizona, defense attorney Jason Lamb. He practices right there in Maricopa County. And in New York, former member of the Casey Anthony defense team, Linda Kenny Bodden.
Tonight, you be the judge. A bold accusation, Jodi wants to live.
If I'm found guilty, I don't have a life.
Our live studio jury is here to weigh the evidence and cast their vote with you. Guilty or not guilty. From Studio 7, this is HLN After Dark. Here now, Vinnie Politan and Ryan Smith.
Tonight's bold accusation, Jodi wants to live. She was on suicide watch for days. She says she wants the death penalty. But tonight, I'll prove that Jodi wants to live. We'll look at her history, her statements, and her body language, all of which prove my bold accusation, Jodi wants to live.
I had plans to commit suicide. I didn't know what to think. I just wanted to die. I wasn't formulating plans to commit suicide on my return trip, but I did after that. I was on the fence about suicide. I wanted to kill myself. I did actually decide I was going to definitely kill myself. I wanted to be dead before Travis's birthday. The suicide kept getting put on hold. They have razors there for shaving, and I took it apart one night with intentions of slitting my wrists. I was getting comfortable, and as I was moving around, I nicked my wrist with the razor on accident. It was more like a paper cut. It just stung so bad, and I sat there and I couldn't bring myself to do it, and I was really pissed at myself. If I'm found guilty, I don't have a life. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty.
Jodi Arias talking a lot about suicide, talking a lot about wanting to end her life. Just a couple days ago, saying death is the ultimate freedom. But does she want to live? The bold accusation tonight, Jodi wants to live. And ladies and gentlemen of our in-studio jury, welcome, as well as our online jury. Here are the instructions before you. You are to decide this bold accusation, Jodi wants to live, beyond a reasonable doubt. So if you feel that the prosecution has proved that Jodi wants to live beyond a reasonable doubt, you say yes. Otherwise, you say no. Do you understand? All right. Now, you know that Jodi just gave that recent interview, and I want to go over to Heather. Heather, you've been following this from the very beginning. You have strong opinions about Jodi Arias. What did you think of the interview?
I thought she had a lot of nerve. She's not showing any remorse. Everything looks still planned. It's like the Jodi show still. I mean, she hasn't changed. I don't think she's learned anything from the verdict, and she's still trying to go ahead with her own intentions.
But she hasn't changed. Does it mean she hasn't changed with her suicidal intentions?
I don't think she wants to die.
Okay, so it looks like the defense team may have a tough road to hoe here. Let's bring back in Holly Hughes, Meg Strickler.
Any different than any other night.
That's right, Vinnie Politan. You tell them.
Prosecutors are always confident, ladies and gentlemen.
Always pushing a big boulder
so
up a
Holly
steep
Hughes,
mountain.
give your opening statement to the jury.
Well, the bold accusation tonight is that Jodi wants to live. It's not about whether or not she's got the guts to commit suicide, because we know she doesn't. But what's going to happen to her if she's put on death row is 23 hours a day in a cell by herself. She only gets to shower 3 times a week by herself. She gets one 15-minute phone call, and they bring the phone into her cell per week. Jodi's about to lose the limelight, and she does not want to live like that. She doesn't want to live in a cell where nobody's paying attention, no tweets, No phone calls, no television cameras, no interviews behind her attorney's back. They can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she wants to live, because that's not the life she wants for herself.
Interesting. And there are two sides to this, because it's going to be fascinating. But there's been some developments today, Ryan, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I want to take you out to Phoenix, Arizona. Beth Karras, our legal correspondent for HLN, has the latest developments in what's been an ever-changing status for Jodi Arias. Beth, what's the latest?
Well, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, Vinny, has confirmed that Jodi Arias is no longer in the psych ward. She moved back to the Estrella jail, where she's been living for more than 4 years. Just this afternoon, it was 4 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock local time, so she's no longer on suicide watch. She had been on suicide watch in a psych ward since the evening of the verdict. After she gave the interview, she was transported to the psych ward, and she's been there since then. But no more. She's back where she's been living for months, or years, actually.
Everything's back to normal, Ryan, out there. Well, as normal as it can be in the Jodi Arias case,
absolutely,
right?
But you know what? Just because she's back there doesn't mean we actually know what's going on in her head. Does she want to live or not? That's why the bold accusation tonight is Jodi wants to live. And folks, we're just getting started. The prosecution's going to start their case coming up next.
She's back in Estrella jail. Jody, call us. We have a phone. HLN, dial us. We want to ask you these hard questions.
Did you have anything to do with the death of Travis?
I don't think I had anything directly to do with it, but I feel responsible somewhat for it.
Jodi in her own words, and you know what? That's why our bold accusation tonight is Jodi wants to live. So, we've got our jury right here in studio, our online jury at home, and the prosecution is over at the HLNTV.com evidence room. Vinny?
Thanks so much, Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, one thing is very clear tonight, and that is that Jodi wants to live. Yes, I know her voice says no, but check out her body, because her body says yes, ladies and gentlemen. I've got with me Susan Constantine. She's a body language expert. We're going to take a look at some of Jodi's statements, and I think after you listen to Susan, you'll understand all this. Let's begin with the interrogation tape.
Okay.
You know, she's arrested. She's in custody. Take a listen, everybody.
Listen, if I'm found guilty, I don't have a life. I'm not guilty. I didn't hurt Travis. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty.
She says she's begging. Susan, let's take a closer look at a couple still frames that we grabbed from this. Let me get it up there. There she is. All right, so show us what we should be looking at here and why she's not necessarily, you know, telling the truth here.
Well, first of all, what we're seeing her palms up like this. Her body language is leaning forward. Her head is tilted down. She's in a begging position. Believe me, I'm trying to convince you. And then what we see over here, dominance and control. Now she's actually leaping over into the proxemics of the investigator, and she doesn't feel that she's duping him yet, so she goes further into his proxemics, trying to convince him.
Yeah, her hands are on
Right
the table here. You see
Right
her
here.
bent, leaning in. Please believe me. Please believe me.
Yes.
I'm taking control of this. So this is basically telling you that she's trying to convince someone because she doesn't believe it herself.
That's exactly right.
It's all about truth detection, Ryan. It's all about truth detection here. All right, let's take a listen. We've got another instance of her, and this is her on the witness stand. 18 days on the witness stand. You all remember that. But take a listen to this.
I made that statement in September 2008, I believe it was. And at the time I had plans to commit suicide. I was very confident that no jury would convict me because I planned to be dead. Probably the most bitter words I'll ever eat.
All right, so she planned to be dead. Again, we grabbed some still frames from this, Susan. And again, show the folks of the jury and the folks at home what you're seeing here.
Okay, what we're seeing here is there is some sadness in her mouth area here. You can see her chin pouting up. You can see the corners of her mouth going down. So she's pouting. But look at right here on her eyes. Her eyebrows should be going in like this and turning up, but they're not. And you should see lines going across her forehead if she were truly sad. So look at this other one. one here.
So she's not sad about being dead?
She's not sad about it at all.
Okay.
It's just, she's feeling that she's pouting, but this could be actually about how she's feeling internally that she's in this situation herself.
Okay, how about in the second one here?
Okay, what we're looking at this one here is we see the contempt facial expression. We see it right over here. And basically what this is arrogance. Okay, so when she's having a very high opinion of herself, and we actually have two other photos, and I'd love you to see this one.
Let's take a look at that real quick. The folks at home have to see this, and our ladies and gentlemen of the jury have to see this. Let's take a look here.
Okay.
These are three people we're all very familiar with. You've got Jodi Arias,
Wait, defense team.
Casey Anthony, and Susan Smith.
Wait a second, Vinny. This defense team is smirking as you're giving your presentation.
They're probably making the same face that Jodi Arias is making, right? I'm going to draw a circle on their face.
I need to put my palms up and beg to the jury, okay? No, oh, come on. Seriously, you guys, 18 days on the stand, and you take 3 little still snapshots of what her face looks and say that's what's in her mind. And I love Susan Constantine. I've got her book. I think she's fabulous. But come on, seriously, 18 days on the stand. How many hours is that? And you're going to say because
the show is 1 hour. The show is only an hour.
Wait, Vinny, wait, guys. Hold on for a second.
They have to get pictures that are outside the trial. I mean, that's how desperate they are.
Meg, hold on for a second. I want to get Linda Kenny-Bodden in here, too. She's got something to say. Vinny, Linda?
Yes, I object, Vinny. Don't compare my client who was not guilty to somebody who stabbed somebody 29 times, please. Jodi Arias has already been successful. You see, she's manipulated all of us because we're talking about her. That's what borderlines do. We're talking about her suicide. Don't give me that look, Vinny.
Ryan, can we poll the jury really quickly? How many people in the jury agree with Linda Kenny-Bodden that Casey Anthony is not guilty? If you believe Casey Anthony is not guilty, put up yes. If you don't think if you think she's guilty, vote no right now.
Guilty, vote no.
All right, Linda.
You bribed them, Vinny.
All no's. Okay.
Nothing further, Linda.
You know what I'm learning? Sorry. He rests his case on the jury.
Jody, don't call us, Jody. Never mind.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? You just see how lawyers fight like cats and dogs, right? And they're going to continue it after the break. The prosecution's case continues.
What's inside that mystery box? It's our smoking gun. What could be tonight's game changer? And you're about to see the big reveal.
Oh, holy night.
Indictment. Count 1. First-degree murder, premeditated murder.
The stars are brightly shining.
He said, kill you, bitch.
Your finger, hold it up, Jody, if you can. How about when you cut his throat? Were you crying then?
When men like you are screaming at me or grilling me, or someone like Travis.
So the bold accusation, Jodi Arias wants to live. And you know what? The battle is just beginning in our courtroom. Vinny Politan and Sue Constantine are over at the HLNTV.com evidence room.
Thanks, Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me call my next expert in. Dr. Drew joins us. Dr. Drew, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why Jodi wants to live.
Vinny, I think it's pretty simple. As you've laid it out so properly and appropriately, she has talked about and contemplated suicide for a long time. That is part of her borderline disorder. Borderlines often do so, and yet she has really made no move towards dying. And although she may, let's not confuse not wanting to live the way she's going to live with wanting to die. She is in denial about a lot of things. She is in her own sort of, her point of view, her sense of her environment and her way she lives begs no alternative. And she doesn't mind telling you that you can kill her. That would be fine because that would allow her to act out her murderous rage, but she doesn't want to die.
Yeah, and the other thing, you talk about suicide with Jodi Arias, ladies and gentlemen, she's had a knife in her pocket for years, and she never used it against herself, only against Travis Alexander. That's telling to me as well, Dr. Drew, because she had opportunities, even after the murder. If she wanted to kill herself, she could have.
That's absolutely correct, Vinny. She doesn't want to die. In fact, I think that all of this talk about wanting the death penalty and all the things we've heard her say recently are really more of an attempt to take her feelings of murderous rage and put them onto us and say, see, the jury's going to sentence me to death. Now it's you that should feel guilty for having this murderous rage that's actually mine.
Yeah, let's take a look at that statement that Dr. Drew is talking about, ladies and gentlemen, as we come back here in the HLNTV.com evidence room. And this was her post-verdict interview. Susan, let's watch it, and then we'll watch it in slow-mo so Susan can point out all the body language in this one.
I said years ago that I'd rather get death than life, and that still is true today. I believe death is the ultimate freedom, so I'd rather just have my freedom as soon as I can get it.
So you're saying you actually prefer getting the death penalty than being in prison for life?
Yes.
All right, she's talking about her ultimate freedom. Susan, point out to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what exactly you see in this video as it's slowed down.
What I'm going to share with you is just to help you see what you've been missing. So what we're looking at is her mouth right here now, and you actually could see a smile that was actually leaking out of it. It's actually called duping delight. So when she's telling you something, she feels like she's duping you, she gets excited about it. The other thing is she said ultimate freedom. What you should see is extreme happiness, ultimate happiness, if it were true, and you don't see any of these eyebrows raised at all and no lines around the eyes. She is not wanting to die. She wants to live.
Can you draw how her eyebrows should be if, in fact, she was happy? Could you kind of draw that in?
If she were happy, her eyebrows would come up.
Draw the actual eyebrow. What would it look like?
They would come up. A little bit high, but not that high. I'm not really good with the makeup, am I? Okay, so anyway.
The defense has to jump in, Vinny.
Take a look.
You see my eyebrows raising over here?
Really? Those are emphasizers. Those are emphasizers.
Yeah, Holly Hughes always making it about herself. By the way. Did you notice that?
Anything to deflect from that, Vinny.
All right. Hey, Ryan, if the jury has any comments, questions, I mean, Susan, Dr. Drew, everybody's ready.
They have a lot of comments. Juror number 12 is about to have a heart attack over here. She's been laughing so hard. Juror number 12, what's got you going here? What do you think about the body language analysis?
Well, I think it's hilarious that Vinny said to draw the eyebrows. That was really funny. But I really have a comment about the interview because Jody, to me, she never ceases to amaze me with her cray-cray self. You know, she just couldn't resist extending her 5 minutes of fame after having an interview after you've been found guilty of first-degree murder. Like, who does that?
Well, is she suicidal, though?
No.
Okay, hold that thought. Because the defense is going to come up and try to convince you otherwise. Let me go over here to juror number four.
Actually, my question is for Holly. We found out today that post-verdict interview was actually planned in advance, several days.
Right.
So how can we look at that and not see that as a blatant manipulation of what she wants us to believe? She had time to plan that out and figure out exactly what she wanted to say. It wasn't off the cuff.
Wow.
Right, which is precisely why I'm saying she does want to die. This isn't an accusation about suicide, guys. This is an accusation. Does she want to live or die? She doesn't have the guts to commit suicide. She's been talking about it since she was 17 years old. She wants the state to give her death so that she can blame somebody else because she does not want to live 23 hours in a cell by herself.
All right. You know what? I know you guys are riveted by this case. Vinny Politan's over there waiting to field questions, and you're asking questions of the defense. But I'll tell you what, everybody's jumping in on this one. Don't worry. You're going to have your chance with the defense coming up.
Okay, so does Jody want to live or does evil live? It's almost like a science fiction movie, isn't it?
Showbiz Tonight with A.J. Hammer, HLN Tonight, 11 Eastern and Pacific.
It was a very low point for me. Throughout the fall, I had been feeling suicidal, so I thought that was kind of the point where I decided I wanted to go through with that. So I called my friend Matt because he had guns, and I was going to ask him if I could borrow one because I wanted to kill myself. And he could tell I don't know, he called a suicide hotline and had me call them. And he called my dad or my parents.
All right, the bold accusation again, Jody wants to live. Now, a lot of our jurors in studio have questions for Dr. Drew. I want to start with Susan. Susan, you have a powerful story. I want to get to that in a moment. But first, I want to give you a chance to ask Dr. Drew a question.
Hi, Dr. Drew. Why would Jodi testify for 18 days if she did not want to try to salvage her life somehow?
I think that is very much the point. I think she fought very hard to, I think she believed, remember, she has a magical way of thinking, a very primitive way of thinking. It's a secret, it's the secret. She just thinks it's going to be a certain way that she believed she probably was going to get off altogether. And you're right, she wanted to live.
Okay, one more question for you, Drew. Let me get over here to juror number 10. Juror number 10, what's your question for Dr. Drew?
Hi, Dr. Drew. I love you, by the way.
You made him blush, by the way.
I want to know if you think Jodi is duping us and trying to ask for death, but maybe she really wants the jurors to give her the opposite.
So the reverse psychology.
Yes.
Yes, I think you're using your nice, healthy brain to try to imagine how you could ever have said something like that if you wanted to live. The fact is, she's more complicated. We know from the psychological testing she had that she has a borderline personality disorder. So she does want to live, but in the meantime, she has all these unpleasant feelings that she has to push out onto us. Even suicide itself is a way of telling you that you forced her to do something, that it's your fault, you're guilty, and now she's even putting the very onus of the death penalty on you to kill her so she can feel better. But again, she won't be there to see it, and that part doesn't get into her thinking.
Ryan, I just have a follow-up for juror number 10. Sure. If you can go over with the mic.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure. Dr. Joe, juror number 10, you're not planning to move to Los Angeles, are you? So I know you love Dr. Drew, but you're not.
I do love him, but not quite that.
Just right.
We do have, as Vinny, we have a stalking special coming up in about a week. Be sure to tune into that. We can get into it a little bit.
You know
No,
what?
she's not.
Come here. No. Now she's blushing.
I know. I'm only joking.
All right.
I love Dr. Drew, too.
That's all right, Vinny. That's all right. She knows some good criminal defense attorneys if she gets charged.
Good point. By the way, speaking of the defense, let's bring them in with their case. All right, Meg, Holly, you wanted the jury to take a look at Jodi Arias talking about wanting to kill herself. Let's take a look at that.
In that tape, you said that no jury would convict you. Remember saying that? Remember saying that?
Yeah, I did say that.
Why?
At the time, I had plans to commit suicide. I had written out all my suicide letters. I sent my note. I sent them all in an envelope to my grandmother's. Do not open until November 10th, 2008. I was hoping to be dead by then.
So, Meg Strickler, what should this tell the jury?
This is easy. There are so many references to wanting to die. I don't understand why we're just discarding that. If you Google suicide, what are the signs of wanting to die? She says it 10,000 different times. We have journal entries. We have all these different videos. She testified to it. She wants to die. She will not want to spend the rest of her life in prison. She even said it in the interview right after the verdict. She said, I cannot spend the rest of my life in prison. I'm young and I'm healthy and I don't smoke. Aha.
That's the part that you missed. See, this is the thing, is that in facial expressions, we have 40 muscles in our face and they fire during different emotions. I know how to read all 40 of them. So when I don't see sadness when she should be feeling sadness, then I know it's not truly believed. So what she can say in her words, which is only 7% of our communication, 93% of it is telling me something different, ladies and gentlemen.
But she has journal entries dating back that we have from 1998. All that prevents me from taking my own life is the fact that a lifetime of hell, as formidable as it remains, a much preferable choice over an eternity of hell. And I fear nothing more than eternal separation from God. She says again, 9 years later, I was honestly contemplating suicide this afternoon. How weak and pathetic I can be at times. What scares me a little is that although the cloud is lifted, I feel that is definitely temporary. I'm scared for it to come back. This is depression. She wants to die.
Okay, Meg. Holly, hold that thought. Holly, I want you to hold that thought. You've got a lot more time. We're going to come back to you after this break. But here's the thing. Do we believe her words or do we believe her face and her body actions? A lot to consider for this jury.
Suicide in jail is a big problem. I've had clients who arrested and committed suicide in jail. Jodi Arias does not have the emotional being to commit suicide in jail. She's more like a sociopath.
What's inside that mystery box? It's our smoking gun. What could be tonight's game changer? And you're about to see the big reveal. You heard it here first. Jodi Arias found guilty of murder in the first degree.
As to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty.
The verdict is out, but the jury is not. Now, 12 men and women will decide whether Jodi will get life or death. It all comes down to this. Jodi gets sentenced.
Boy, this is really hard.
On the only network that won't let you miss a minute as this riveting story unfolds.
I don't know if the jury would see remorse.
Jodi Arias, HLN. America is watching.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth.
Who can forget that song, right? It's a song that still plays in my head. But here's the thing we're discussing tonight. Jodi wants to live. That's the bold accusation. Our jury is full of questions. I want to put it back over to the defense. And Holly, you want them to take another look at the journal entries.
Right, and only the one from 1998, because this is the important part of that. This was when she was 17, 18 years old, long before she met Travis. This isn't something she wrote down to trick a jury 15 years later. This proves she has had suicidal ideation since she was like 17 or 18, and this is a recurring theme. I get everybody's skepticism when she's given an after-conviction interview. I get that. But look back, guys. This is something she's been consistently talking about since she was a teenager.
Now, Holly, what about the singing? What about that video? Everybody here seems to think that Jodi loves the spotlight. What should that tell the jury about this bold accusation?
Absolutely, she loves the spotlight. And that's what I'm saying. She does not want to continue to live because she doesn't have control anymore, you guys. She sat on the stand, juror 6, I believe it was, asked a fabulous question. Why would she testify for 18 days if she wanted to die? Because at that point, she still had a chance of controlling it. She thought she'd get second degree. She might even walk away. That's why she spent 18 days on the stand, because she does love the spotlight. But now that spotlight is going away. I hate to be real, guys, but let's break it down. Next week, there's going to be another high-profile case that takes the place of Jodi Arias. Her 15 seconds is up, and she doesn't want to continue to live. She's been talking about killing herself.
Right. It's been a long time.
She's been talking about killing herself for years.
All right, I want to get in a few comments from the jury and some questions. I want to come back over to Susan. And Susan, a little bit about your background. You had a family member that was murdered. The man who did it was the last person to be executed in the electric chair in this state.
Yes.
So you bring a unique perspective to this. What do you have for the defense?
I do. It's a very personal, the death penalty decision is very personal to me because it did affect my family directly. So I have very strong feelings about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth because it happened to my family.
Right.
So do you not think, Holly, that all the suicide ideation talk is nothing more than maybe attention seeking?
I don't, only because it dates back so long. And let me say, I am so sorry about what happened. I was a prosecutor here in Atlanta for 10 years, so I might have put the bad guy away myself. But I don't think it's about that now, because we see it going so far back. And let's remember, guys, 23 hours a day in a cell by herself. That's not what she wants, because she won't have the attention. She won't have the opportunity. There's not going to be any more TV cameras on Jodi Arias if they sentence her to death.
One phone call a week also.
Yeah.
That right there by definition.
No more tweeting.
Absolutely. And you know what, Susan, just to put it in perspective here, this is what this is all about. You see how it affects families. That's why this death penalty hearing is so critical. And that's what we're looking for in all of this. So, Susan, thank you for sharing your story. Vinny, you have a smoking gun.
Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, time to reveal tonight's smoking gun. I want you to take a look. The reveal. O.J. Simpson. That's right. O.J. Simpson, 5 years older, 5 years fatter. He was back in court today, 5 years after his robbery conviction. After all his appeals, he's still looking for a new trial. And yes, he's back in the spotlight, proving once again there's always another appeal. You can always ask for another trial, and these things never end. Which means Jody will always have another chance to get in the limelight and have the nation debate Jody's favorite subject, Jody.
All right, he's using your limelight argument against you, Holly and Meg. Holly, go ahead.
Seriously, you know what, guys? Death is different. No, this is not coming back. Okay, the appeal will go on. They do not reverse death cases very often. And secondarily, she's not going to be giving interviews the whole time this appeal is pending. She's on lockdown, y'all. We're going to put some stats up for you a little later when Meg does her closing. I want you to pay special attention to that, please.
All right. A lot for this jury to consider, and they're kind of on both ends right now. I'm getting comments all over the place. You see life on death row, what that would mean for Jodi Arias. Vinny?
All right, folks, if you love HLN After Dark, we want you to know we're not going anywhere. When the Jodi Arias trial ends, we'll be here every night bringing you more great cases, including the trial of George Zimmerman, which is coming in June. Our HLN trial experts go back in the courtroom, digging deep into all the evidence on the killing of Trayvon Martin. You know us. You know our passion. When we're in, we're all in. In the case of George Zimmerman, was it murder or was it self-defense? Watch the trial, consider the evidence, then decide what you believe.
The defense needed to embrace PTSD to say Jodi got it because she killed somebody and she was upset. But this interview was a disaster for the defense because it shows she has no remorse. That's why I said she has a sociopathic problem.
All right, tonight's bold accusation, Jodi wants to live. We've got our jury in studio, our online jury. And now you've heard all the evidence, so it's time for closing arguments. Let's start with the prosecution. Vinny Politan.
Thank you, Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, 20 minutes after her conviction for first-degree murder, that's when she says, oh, I want the death penalty. 20 minutes after the conviction, that's when we should start believing her? That's when she's starting to tell the truth? Come on, you know Jodi Arias, and you know one thing. When she's talking, she's lying, and she says she wants the death penalty. Jodi loves drama. She loves the drama of it all. And if you go back in time, all this talk about suicide, oh, I would do it, oh, I want to do it, yes, I'm going to do it, oh, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. That's the drama. She never follows through. Why? Because, oh, I thought it was up there. Jodi wants to live, ladies and gentlemen. That's why.
There it is. Jodi wants to live. As Vinny Politan said. Next up, the defense. Meg Strickler.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this one's easy. Vinny Politan just said drama, 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 and his smoking gun was O.J. Simpson's head. All right, when was last time we heard from O.J. Simpson? 2008. 5 years of sitting in a cell that is tiny, okay? With absolutely no ability to be out in the world. Okay, she gets a few hours a week for recreation, 15 minutes call a week. That is why she's going to want to kill herself, okay? She will not want to live the life that is today. And remember, your burden is reasonable doubt. They have not proven that Jodi wants to live beyond a reasonable doubt. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the closing arguments. Now it's time to start your deliberations. Jodi Arias has written about it, talked about it a couple days ago, said death is the ultimate freedom. And as our jury deliberates in studio, I wonder what you say at home. Does Jodi want to live? Take a look at the results. 90% say yes, 10% say no. So, Vinny, no matter what she's saying to the press, the online jury believes she wants to live.
Yeah, I almost feel like that 10% though is a little bit high tonight. Anyway, folks, time to take a look now at what the jury doesn't know, and it comes from Jodi's post-conviction interview with the local Fox station. Here, Jodi talks about her conversation with Kirk Nurmi about mitigation.
Do you know what your mitigating factors are going to be and how you're going to play that?
Well, I've been told that I don't have any mitigating factors.
By who?
My attorney.
Kirk Nurmi said to you there are no mitigating factors for you in terms of arguing against the death penalty.
Nothing that is what you typically see in a case like this, such as a childhood where there was drugs, alcoholism, molestation.
Let me bring in Jason Lamb, great criminal defense attorney out there in Phoenix. Jason, first of all, should Jodi Arias be telling the world about her conversation with her attorney about the mitigating factors and her death penalty?
Well, under normal circumstances, no. But, Vinny, do we know that that conversation ever even happened? Or is this yet just another one of Jodi's manipulations to try and garner sympathy? She's doing an OJ. She's throwing her lawyer under the bus. I don't believe it.
All right, let's talk about mitigation. What can Jodi Arias argue? What would be a reason for her to have her life spared by this jury?
Well, Vinny, we've already talked about childhood abuse. At least Jodi has. She got up on the witness stand and said that her parents, abused her to some degree. That would be a valid mitigating circumstance.
Let me ask you on that one, Jason. Let me ask you, do they need to take the stand to admit to that in front of this jury to be effective on that issue?
You would think so, but as I talked about earlier during this trial, I assume that Juan Martinez did his homework. He did on everything else. So the parents were probably interviewed. If they denied ever having abused her in any way, the prosecution would have called the parents as impeachment witnesses, and they would have been kicked out of the courtroom. So the message that I get is, because they were there, Jodi was probably telling the truth on that. The other thing to get into is mental health. And I don't know what the defense was doing here. They're saying that she doesn't have borderline characteristics. You absolutely want her to have a borderline personality. Maybe not for the purpose of the guilt-innocence phase, but for a penalty phase, that's a very strong mitigating circumstance. And, the defense should probably use the prosecution's expert against them in that regard. So those are two valid mitigating circumstances right there. I don't believe that conversation ever occurred between Jodi and Kirk Nurmi.
So you're just not buying it from Jodi Arias? The jury's reached a verdict here. Thanks so much, Jason.
The jury has reached a verdict. Again, the bold accusation, Jodi wants to live. Ladies and gentlemen, if you agree with the prosecution, it's yes. For the defense, no. Let's go one by one. Juror number 1, no. Juror number 2, yes. Juror number 3, yes. Juror number 4, yes. Juror number 5, yes. Juror number 6, yes. Juror number 7, yes. Juror number 8, yes. Juror number 9, yes. Juror number 10, yes. Juror number 11, yes. And juror number 12, yes. 11-1. So, Joe, I'm going to come to you. You've been one of our reasonable doubters from time to time. Why say no?
Because I think she enjoys the attention for the time being, but once the ultimate reality sets in, she's going to want to bite the dust pretty quickly.
All right. So let me get over here to Michelle. Michelle, you said yes. Why?
Because I believe that with the defense's arguments that she wants to be the 23-hour lockdown and stuff is if she's sitting on death row. If she gets life without parole, without any parole, then she's going to be able to still have somewhat normal life, but in jail. She'll still get mail, visitors, commissary.
So she'll still have that normal life. Okay, let me get the perspective of your daughter, who's right here. What do you think?
I think she wants to live just because 20 minutes after she was convicted, she said, oh, my defense attorney said I have no mitigation factors, feel sorry for me, they've even given up on me, I have no one left. I think it's the whole reverse psychology issue.
Okay, and Allie, just to keep it consistent, I got to get a perspective from your roommate. All of you voted the same way. What do you think?
I just think that Jodi, throughout the entire thing, has said that she's such a devout Christian, and as a Christian, you ask for forgiveness and stuff like that, especially from people that you hurt. And she hasn't asked for forgiveness from Travis's family, and so I don't think she's ready to face the wrath of God yet.
Okay, Vinny.
Brian, can I just point something out, though? Everything that you guys just said, the jury didn't see, and the jury won't see. They will not see that interview. So if it's done to manipulate the jury, that's pointless because the jury won't see it.
I think she believes that they're watching it at home and they'll get word of it. And I think there's still a chance Juan Martinez may very well play that in front of this jury ultimately. Thank you so much to everyone. Great job by jury. Your verdict is in on today's issue. Tomorrow we'll have another bold accusation, another live studio jury, and yes, another verdict. That's it for HLN After Dark.